Inflation is usually described as a problem, a mistake, a side effect of bad decisions. We are told it happens because governments overspend, because supply chains break, because markets panic. This explanation is comforting, because it implies that inflation is accidental, temporary, fixable. But inflation is not a bug in the system. It is one of the system's core functions. Today, we are not talking about prices. We are talking about power. We are going to explain why inflation exists, who benefits from it, and why it is preferred over visible forms of taxation. In official narratives, inflation is framed as a technical issue. Too much demand, too little supply, an overheated economy. Central banks raise interest rates. Governments promise discipline. Economists speak about balance. The language is neutral, clinical, almost mechanical. But notice something important. Inflation is always discussed as unintended. No one ever claims it is planned. No one ever admits it is useful. And yet, inflation appears again and again, across different political systems, across different ideologies, across different centuries. This persistence is not an accident. Let us start with a simple question. Why not just raise taxes? If governments need money, why not openly ask for it? Historically, direct taxation creates resistance. People notice it immediately. They feel the loss directly. They organize against it. Taxes are visible. Inflation is not. A tax increase produces protests. Inflation produces confusion. When prices rise, people blame companies, markets, foreigners, supply chains, even each other, rarely the system itself. Inflation diffuses responsibility. That is its first advantage. Inflation reduces purchasing power. Taxes reduce disposable income. Functionally, the result is similar. Psychologically, it is very different. With inflation, no letter arrives in the mail. No vote is required. No law is passed that most people understand. Money simply buys less. This is why inflation is sometimes called the silent tax. But that term is still too soft. Inflation does not just collect money. It redistributes it. Inflation does not affect everyone equally. Debtors benefit. Creditors lose. Governments are the largest debtors in the system. When inflation rises, the real value of existing debt falls. A loan taken 10 years ago is repaid with cheaper money today. This is not a side effect. It is a structural incentive. Wage earners lose purchasing power faster than asset holders. People with fixed incomes suffer more than people with investments. Those who own assets often see prices rise faster than inflation. Those who rely on wages are always adjusting after the fact. Inflation rewards proximity to capital. One of the most important features of inflation is delay. Prices do not rise everywhere at the same time. Asset prices often move first. Consumer goods follow later. Wages adjust last. This delay allows early recipients of new money to spend before prices rise. This is known as the Cantillon effect. Those closest to money creation benefit most. Those farthest away pay the price. This is not a conspiracy. It is arithmetic. Central banks are presented as neutral guardians of stability. Their real function is coordination. They manage expectations. They smooth political pressure. They create distance between decisions and consequences. When inflation rises, blame shifts to market forces, external shocks, global conditions, rarely to deliberate policy. Independence is not about neutrality. It is about insulation. There are only two ways to deal with debt. Default, devaluation. Default is politically explosive. Devaluation through inflation is gradual. Inflation allows governments to reduce real debt without openly admitting failure. It spreads pain over time. It avoids a single moment of collapse. From a system perspective, inflation is the least destabilizing option. True zero inflation would mean stable purchasing power, predictable savings, limited monetary flexibility. It would also mean reduced ability to respond to crises, less room to absorb political pressure. This is why most central banks explicitly target positive inflation. 2% is not arbitrary. It is a compromise. High enough to erode debt slowly, low enough to avoid panic. Inflation changes behavior. People stop saving. They rush to spend. They seek assets. Long-term planning becomes difficult. Short-term survival dominates. This increases dependence on institutions that offer protection, credit, or access. Uncertainty is not always a flaw. Sometimes it is a feature. From ancient empires to modern fiat systems, the pattern is consistent. Currency debasement, price controls, wage lag, different tools, same logic. Inflation appears when systems grow complex, overextended, and politically constrained. It is not proof of incompetence. It is proof of stress management. Every inflationary episode is described as temporary. It always requires patience. It always promises normalization. But normalization never restores purchasing power. It only stabilizes loss. Prices rarely go down. They simply stop rising as fast. This is not failure. It is design. Understanding inflation changes perspective. It shifts focus from outrage to adaptation. This is not advice. It is observation. Systems do not optimize for fairness. They optimize for continuity. Those who understand this stop expecting reversals and start planning accordingly. Inflation is not an accident. It is not a mistake. It is not temporary. It is a structural response to political and economic constraints. It transfers value quietly. It preserves stability at the cost of clarity. It protects systems before people. This does not make inflation evil. It makes it intentional. And once you see it as a tool, you stop asking when it will end and start asking who it serves. This was Vox Analytics. We analyze systems, not headlines. If you want to understand how power actually moves, stay with us.